What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fresh Podcast, where we talk about everything fresh in entertainment. I'm your host, Drew Brumfield, and join with me on this very special podcast is Randy. Randy, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Here to talk about one of my favorite series.
And we also have Seth. How are you doing?
My name is Commander Seth, and this is my favorite podcast on this platform.
Yes, so
Nice.
Good reference. So yes, if it wasn't obvious, we are finishing up the Mass Effect, series because I have finished Mass Effect 3, and so
Finally.
yeah. took me a minute. I got
Just a sec.
just
To
a
be
minute.
fair,
Yeah, I got.
There's a lot of games.
It was a lot of games,
There's a lot of
and
and there's a lot of other games coming out too.
yeah, and I'm easily distracted. So if it wasn't for the hard dedication of you guys constantly screaming at me to finish this good game, don't know how I would have done it. But thanks.
Spoiler alert. Drew thinks it's good.
Yeah, I think.
But
I
how
think it
good?
is.
That's the question.
Yes, and that is the question that we are going to answer here on this podcast. But before we do that, got to shout out ourselves because no one else will. Go check out our TikTok and YouTube shorts over on YouTube. We have our most recent video, as of recording this podcast, is a little video edited by me, but voice and written by the wonderful Seth here. And it is about everyone's favorite web crawler, Spiderman, specifically Spider for the PS4. So if you're thinking, dang, this new Spider-Man game is great, but I wonder how good or how fresh, if you are so kind, was the first game, and we answered that question. So Seth, I want to say fantastic job voicing, getting the B-roll, and writing that episode. It was great. And it was great, we actually kind of did a collab on this one. This is the first time where we both worked on the same project.
Yeah, man, team effort.
Yeah, go team, man. Go check that video out. It's great. It's fun. And who doesn't like some Spider-Man?
I clapped myself. Hope you felt the clap to you, Drew.
I did, yes, and I will clap back as well. With that little shout out of the way, let's talk about some Mass Effect. So, you both obviously love this game, as you've said multiple times in just this short podcast. But I am the newcomer this time. I have not played it, and as I mentioned earlier, it is good. I do like the game. It has refined itself, at the very least, in controls and combat. It's still a bit clunky, and the cover system is still a bit kind of weird. I've ran into a few issues with trying to revive people, but Shepard kept snapping to cover, and while that's annoying, and as my issues with the combat can be, that is not the main focus of these games. The main focus is the story, the characters, and the writing. And I will, to no one's surprise, this has been said a million times, but Mass Effect does have some of the best writing in a video game ever. The amount of details that characters have, the amount of interwoven stories, the amount of different ways small decisions can affect the whole story is incredibly impressive. And it's no surprise why this game became so successful and why so many people continue to replay it. I will always sing the praises about that game. That said, I do not think Mass Effect 3 is as good as Mass Effect 2. I think character story, it's nice to see character stories wrapped up, and that's amazing in this one, and there's a lot of really cool character moments in this one. I think I really liked in 2 that every character had their dedicated mission, and they weren't kind of weaving together how in 3 is. You're doing Morn's story, but this is also Rex's story, and you're doing Tally's story, but this is also Legion's thing too. It's in 2, everyone gets their own, at least 2 their own dedicated moments. And the other thing, I see why people, when this game first came out, had such issues with the ending, because I do have notes about the ending as well, but I will get to that towards the end of this podcast, which, if it wasn't obvious, this is definitely going to be a longer podcast. So thank you all for listening in on that.
Yeah,
So
you're going to want to buckle in for this one.
Yeah.
Grab a snack,
So
You know,
so that's kind of my very short, non-spoilery review of it. I definitely like it. I do not think it's the strongest in the series because I think two just kind of holds has so many moments that like it was a high benchmark to reach two. And plus in three, and Randy, you could probably talk about this more, but because you told me about this, that there's a lot of side missions in three that just feel either useless or just like kind of thrown in there for padding. And there's just a lot of kind of just if there's moments that feel like, oh, that obviously had tons of time and dedication worked into it, and then there were times where it was like, well, that was rushed very quickly. So yeah, I'll toss it to you,
yeah,
Randy.
they definitely wanted to release Mass Effect 3 to capitalize off of the success of Mass Effect 2. Also, didn't realize that Mass Effect 3, along with KOTOR Knights or not KOTOR, SOTOR, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO, which is also made by BioWare, came out in the same year.
Yeah.
So
Now, to be fair, that was two different studios. I think this was like BioWare Edmonton was the one that was handling Mass Effect, and BioWare Austin was handling the Star Wars. But you're all right.
still though, if BioWare Austin was like, if that game, I mean, it's a fun game, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm the dork with the Star Wars tattoo. Of course, I'm gonna play that game and enjoy it. Um, but let's say like hypothetically that studio came over and like that game didn't exist. I feel like that would definitely have helped this game. This game was definitely ended up being rushed. You can tell it even in just the number of dialogue options. Before in both previous games, you would have kind of like a paragon, kind of like a good guy,
Good boy.
kind of neutral, and then kind of like stern and or rude. Then with your occasional like paragon dialogue option or renegade dialogue option. So you could have like five, and now it's basically you'll have a max of four, which I guess is only minus one, but that's only if you have like kind of good guy like Paragon, Renegade, and then actual like if you have enough Paragon points, and then if you have an actual enough Renegade points.
Yeah, I think even in
But it
like
completely dropped the kind of the neutral one, um, and also for a lot of conversations with your squad mates the around the Normandy and whatnot. A lot of times it's just you just stand there and listen to a conversation. You don't actually enter a cutscene and stuff like that, which I think sometimes was good, sometimes was not. But that's just one way it was kind of rushed.
Yeah.
I
This
know
game-
originally they wanted to like fight in regards like have these larger scale uh, battles and whatnot, but just couldn't due to like development time and stuff like that.
yeah.
This stuff was supposed to be more fleshed out.
Well, I can hop in on this and say, like, I think to speak even more to your point, Randy, um, if you look, so Mass Effect came out, Mass Effect 3 came out in 2012. Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010. Now, you would look at that and you'd probably think, like, oh, yeah, they had, like, maybe, like, what, like a 3-year development cycle to get that done. But that was not the case. First off, Mass Effect 2 had DLC, like, pretty much like a whole year's worth of content still being dropped for that. And we talked about it on the previous podcast before. These were pretty substantial pieces of DLC, so that took time. The year before, that team also had to put out Dragon Age 2. That is also a game that was rushed out. So basically, when you really get it down to it, the really hard, like, actual development cycle of this game was a little more than a year, which is crazy
Insane.
because, like,
That's wild.
yeah, Mass Effect, because both Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 had somewhere around like 3 to 4 years of development to get done, and Mass Effect 3 was not that. And I mean, you can kind of tell with like certain plot threads, like the dark energy plot line that was in Mass Effect 2 with Tally stuff, didn't really go anywhere here in Mass Effect 3. I remember a lot of like developers kind of speaking about like the original plan was and we'll get into it, but the intro section with Earth was supposed to be about like 4 to 5 hours long.
Oh, gosh.
It was supposed to be because the invasion the spoiler, Reaper invasion happens at Mass Effect 3. The Reaper invasion,
Oh
the
no.
initial phases was
That's the
supposed to
first
go on
2 minutes of the game.
yeah, it's supposed to happen so much like slowly and more built up. And I know a lot of people kind of complain like it's so rushed, especially since when you think about it logistically, is like how the hell did the Reapers break into Citadel space and made it all the way to the Sol system and ignored everybody else?
Yeah.
And it's like that's a fair point.
They just skipped everything.
And their only answer is they were really mad at Shepard, so that's why. Like that's it. It's just like they really had it out for him.
Is that I hate Boater for Shepard so hard, but then
Which is understandable.
Yeah, but then they don't chase him after that. They're like, they kill the.
They let him go.
They're just like, yeah, just let him go. So.
So yeah, like obvious, and that's I think I agree with Drew and Randy on this, where Mass Effect 3 is just messy, even messy compared to Mass Effect 1. Because at least Mass Effect 1, say what you will about that game, but it at least had a very clear vision of what it wanted to be at the end of the day. And it's like you may not like certain things, you may not like the exploration of mostly empty planets or some of the side content or how combat felt, but it was at least all intentional though.
Yeah.
Whereas Mass Effect 3, you can kind of feel a lot of like different hands in there. I can't say for sure whose fault it is, but during this time, I would probably bet money it was EA's fault. They probably
we can always blame EA.
That's not.
Yeah.
No one's gonna fight you on that one.
Yeah, and like, and I think and I think it makes sense because like, you look at them, they just got off a big success with Mass Effect 2, and also like in 2009, Dragon Age Origins, their big dark fantasy kind of like breakout thing, the biggest thing they've done with that kind of genre since Baldur's Gate. So obviously, I think EA got dollar signs in their eyes, and they were like, you need to put this stuff out, and you need to make a shit ton of DLC, and you need to make sure they have season passes, even crucial story DLC that players need to pre-order the collector's edition. That's actually a really important part of the story of Mass Effect 3. We'll get into that later. But yeah, like, this is definitely the worst EA got, and especially how they treated BioWare, because you can definitely tell both not only Mass Effect 3 but Dragon Age 2 were both games with really good ideas, but were just rushed before they could ever fully actualize the concepts I think the developers were going for. So if there's one moral you can take away from this, is that EA really, I think a lot of the blame here can be placed on EA.
EA's the devil. It always has been. But yeah, I agree with that. So before we...
But at least the DLC and stuff gets fixed by the version we're playing, the Legendary Edition.
Yeah, so...
But anyway, continue.
I'll say... yeah, so I mean, the best version is the Legendary Edition because it has all the fixes. And I'll say a few more things before we start getting into story. One, I want to point out, it's still an impressive game, especially now that I know that it took a year to make, which now I'm like, okay, now it is kind of impressive what they were able to still pull off. But I think a lot of that is because a lot of these story bites have been fleshed out and have been like written already like in their minds since like 2, and some of them probably even since Mass Effect 1. So it's still impressive like that. And the last thing I would bring up, because I do not know where else I would talk about this, but it is something that has bothered me for all 3 games now. And it's a nitpick, yes, but it's bothered me for a while. And apparently it says in Andromeda it kind of is fixed. It's anytime... So the way that you go on a mission, you have to go, look at your journal, ask Shepard on the ship, and then you go to the command center, and you go, and you have to find the planet that it's talking about. But sometimes what the mission is talking about like a colony on a certain planet. So it doesn't tell you the specific planet you need to go. So you either have to just know it, which most fans kind of just know where everything is. But if a new player, you're like, wait, no, I want to look at like what was the colony, or like what area am I looking for again? But you can't just immediately look at your menu, or like there's no marker to indicate half the time where like a side quest is. So if you don't know where you're going, you have to then back out from your ship, have the game load again, be a shepherd, and then either go back to your email or into your journal. And it's just like, why is it not? I know it's a nitpick, but like, stay with me. It's why is it not just a simple button where I can just press the menu button from the map? Like when I'm on the map and I'm controlling my little ship to go to the planet, why can't I just press a button, look at the menu, and see like where do I need to go? Or press a thing that shows like this is the direction of that planet. Like this is where Eden Prime is, because Eden Prime is the name of a colony, not the planet. So it sounds weird, but it was something like, I'm going to forgive him the first game because it's the first game. The second game, it's really a quality of life thing, but it's kind of annoying that it's still out there. It's 3 games now. Why is it still this fucking system? It was a thing that always annoyed me so much. I just never liked like the menu system and the way you have to search for information in this game. Apparently it's better in Andromeda, but Andromeda has a different issue. And that's my weird little rant about the menus. But it should be a very easy menu fix. It should be quite simple to fix. Why did no one do this? You've been making 3 games now.
Yeah, like Andromeda, how they handled it is basically like, and I know this because I played it not too long ago just to play it on my Steam Deck. Basically, whenever you have like a planet and it has like a little pop-up thing where once you like kind of hover over it and click on it, it's like, hey, these are all like the little side missions and main missions that you have going on here right now. Yeah. So you just know like this is it. So like it's very helpful. Yeah, I agree with Drew. That's a weird kind of like quality of life change where I really like the Legendary Edition. I think they did a great job with it, remastering these games, making them look and run so well, and even making some bug fixes there and some tweaks to the gameplay that wasn't in the original. But I do agree. I kind of wonder, like, you could have maybe gone a little further with it, you know, tweak the UI, the journal. One of the things that really disappointed me is how Mass Effect 3 regresses even from Mass Effect 2 is, you know, how like in Mass Effect 2, if it's like a main story mission or a really important mission, it's called like priority. Yes. And then everything else is secondary. That's all gone here. There's no separate tabs for a main story mission or like a side mission or even one of those shitty little missions where you just like, you talk to someone on Citadel, you go fly, that doesn't even have dialogue options in it. You go fly somewhere, you scan and you bring it back and that's the mission. It's like really lame. It's like, why aren't you separating this into different tabs? It's really annoying. It was a complaint. It was a complaint when Mass Effect 3 came out, and it's a shame that they didn't bother to like make any sort of changes to that, especially since I'm pretty sure there are mods available that already fixed it.
I'm so glad you brought this up because that was the other thing that I didn't bring up. Just like, yes, why are the menus and all my quests clumped together like a pile of dirty laundry? What is this? I don't, half the time, like, I'm so glad I talked to you guys when I was playing it, because half the time I'm like, is this one important? And you're like, no. What about this one? Do that one later. What about this one? Okay, you can do that one now. That one's fine. And I'm like, how the fuck? If I didn't know this, I would never know what's an important mission or what's just like, go pick up a thing and come back. There was one time where I talked to, what's the race that walks on all fours and they can't convey emotion? Elcor. I love those guys. I love the Elcor. They're great. They're hilarious. There was one of these guys that came up to me and was like, my people are dying and getting attacked by the Reapers. I need you to like help like get them off my planet. So I'm thinking like, okay, this sounds like a side quest, but like I'll actually get to like fight things and like see these things fight. And because he even talks like, we go and we fight with tanks on our backs and all, and he's describing how they fight. That's not it. You go to their planet, pick them up, and come back. You don't ever fight. You don't see a Reaper. You don't shoot at anything. It's it. You never see them fight. And I'm like, why? What is this quest? And like, but I just assumed it was a real side quest and not one of these pickup things because of the dialogue. But if I, like if Seth said, if the menus were organized more, I would go into the menus and see like, oh, this is more like this is a low priority thing or whatever it was called in 2. And so it's not actually worth much time. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, the menus and the way they organize quests, and they give you so much fucking crap. It's just so much crap. It's just,
when you think about it, though, it just really does add to the feeling that, like, yeah, no, this game was rushed out as quickly as they possibly could, where they couldn't even, like, put in, like, a proper, like, fucking menu to, like, organize your quests. Yeah, so it's just more tinder to add to the fire.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough. Does anyone have any more complaints about the menus before I speak now?
I don't have any complaints about the menu.
Then
But
you're wrong
I will
then.
I will say this
but
much
I
for
don't want
you,
this
Drew.
segment to go on any longer. So
Yeah, Drew, I'll tell you this much. On repeat playthroughs, it doesn't bother you as much, but that's I think both me and Randy could attest to this. The more you replay this game, the more everything just kind of becomes second nature. So you're just kind of like, you don't even bother looking at your menu. You kind of already know where you're going.
I was say, just because you get used to something that's bad doesn't make it good.
Well, yeah, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that, like, this is a game that's meant to be replayed. Like, the series in general is something that's meant to be replayed over and over. And the more you do it, it just gets far easier to just navigate everything.
Yeah. No, I'm sure, because you remember where things is. But, as Randy said, we've been on this topic for too long. So, let's talk about the actual good part of Mass Effect, which is the story. And so, the Mass Effect story is kind of broken up into different arcs. So, we'll go by this arc by arc and talk about the subsequent characters that are associated with that. Starting off with the game's opening, which is the attack on Earth. Where, Shepard and Anderson are running away from Reapers that just came straight to Earth and is blowing everything up. So I'll start with Randy, because Randy, you've always sing high praises on how good Mass Effect 2's opening is. In fact, you even say it's one of the best video game intros that you've ever seen. So how would Mass Effect 3's intro compare?
So it would not compare on the same level, but I still think for the most part it's an okay start. It does start off with some pretty iconic like with the Reapers making their like big wah like sound effect and just like decimating Earth. You show up and you have James Vega, who I'm sure we'll talk about characters later, show up and he's like, "Yo, come talk to the commander," or not the commander, the council. And the council's like, "Hey, so we just had some like alarms go off about a bunch of like ships coming in of massive size and power." And they're like, "Huh."
This is gonna cause
Shepard's like, "Hey, that's the Reapers." Yeah. He's like, "Hey." They're like, "What could it be?" And Shepard's like, "How about the fucking Reapers I've been warning you about?" And they're like, "Yeah, no. So what do we do about that?" And he's like, "Well, you should have been doing what I've been telling you for years." And basically they show up right on Earth's front door and kick their ass. So you would think that starts off really well, but then you get introduced, like, I guess not introduced, but like you're supposed to feel bad about this child that you see and you like try and help, but he's like scared. And is the child real? Is it not real? We'll get into that later.
Oh God, do we?
Maybe. But yeah, so in regards to like the decimation that happens, it's really good, but I still don't think it doesn't have the heart pumping and oh my God, this is happening. I feel it's like Mass Effect 2. I think just because Mass Effect 2 just like is go. Yeah. This you have a little bit, you got to go talk to the council, be like, "Hey, you're fucking idiots." Yeah. And like in comparison to 2, it's literally just, "Hey, we're going on a mission." Oh God, it's the Collectors, and the ship starts blowing up.
Yeah, I think kind of the difference of like why Mass Effect 2 is so much better is Mass Effect 2 just pretty much picks up straight off where Mass Effect 1 ends, and it just throws you right into the shit with like Shepard getting killed off and like the Normandy in flames, effectively restarting the progression of the game in a really interesting way. and it kind of helps explain like why the world didn't prepare for the Reapers is because Shepard just wasn't there to push for it. That being said, though, kind of the problem is you get into like Mass Effect 3 is I think they try to go for a similarly like explosive style ending as well, but what they also end up doing is it's basically a big plot dump, trying to catch the player up in the next like 30 minutes of other things like, oh yeah, by the way, Shepard is being tried for something. Depending on it, if you played the DLC, it's probably because he blew up the relay that killed a bunch of Batarians.
Yeah, that did happen.
But there's also this, and then all of a sudden it's like, who's this new character? It's James Vega. He's your friend now. Well, you know, blah blah blah. And it's like speeding along. It's just trying to like cram as much plot detail to set the stage for the story is like the first like 30 minutes of the game. Like, oh yeah, Shepard like happens to run into Asher or Caden depending on who you saved, and it's like all this shit, and it's like I think they overwhelmed the player with like too much stuff that's going on that's just mostly there to explain where the story is going, and as a result it kind of like lessens the impact of like the Reapers showing up.
Yeah, because it's I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the same thing as 2 again, where they're like, start the game with something blowing up, and that'll grab them. But yeah, the difference between 1 and 2 is, like you said, Seth, is 2 takes off right pretty much. Like there might be like a week or 2 time difference, but like basically right as soon as 1 is over. Versus 3, it has been like a few years. Shepard's been on Earth now from Cerberus, so you're like, well, how does that relationship work and all that? But you never really got, like you said, they're cramming all this stuff, and you never really get to see it fleshed out or kind of give it the time it needs, because it's also like shit's blowing up at the same time, and so you're kind of just like go. Forget about that stuff we were just talking about. Go, the war started now. Go. And yeah, you kind of like skip over that, which is probably like how and that it made so much sense when you said earlier that like like the opening was supposed to be like 4 to 5 hours, which I can see. I almost like my picture was almost like the game didn't start with an explosion. The game maybe started with like Shepard on Earth on trial, and then after like an hour or 2 of playing, Earth gets blown up. Or something like that.
I imagine it would be a lot more built up of like investigating things. Is this the Reapers or not? And kind of like I said, help to set the stage, especially once you get off Earth, which we'll get into the whole Mars section in just a second. But we still need to finish off Earth here.
Yeah, there's not too much left on Earth.
I will say I don't want to bag on it too much. It is a cool action set piece, and the Reapers are really cool, and also like even though it's not really all that great plot wise, because really it does feel like that the BioWare is just trying to shove as much story down your throat before it really gets into the game proper. I will say that, and I completely agree with Randy. It's weird how hard they push for you to care about this random child getting killed off, but I will say it does a good job of setting the tone for the rest of the game, though. The Reapers just coming in and demolishing Earth's military in like mere minutes, just eviscerating this fucking kid in front of Shepard's eyes. The way how somber the musical track is. This is definitely the best soundtrack in the entire series is here in Mass Effect 3, just because of how just unrelentingly sad it is. And it's I think I will give props to this opening just for that, like setting the tone. I also appreciate that this is the first and only time you fight along Captain Anderson.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, like especially as a mentor figure. I do appreciate that this does feel like it is like the final part of like Anderson finally passing everything on to Shepard, because like Anderson has always been kind of the mentor figure to him, and the part where he like decides to stay back on Earth to rally the resistance, and he's like, hey Shepard, you're back in business now, get back on the Normandy. and what does he throw him? There's something that he throws the Shepherd before he gets back on the Normandy.
Isn't it like his? It's not his Omni tool,
Is it?
isn't it?
No, I remember now. It's Shepherd's dog tags.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
oh, you're reinstated,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, because he wasn't. Since he worked with Cerberus, he got, I guess, discharged
He was-
technically. Yeah.
Well, also he was technically considered dead too.
Oh
that
yeah, I
happened.
guess that also. Yeah, I guess that would also.
But basically, I do think that's a good moment between Shepard and Anderson, like him kind of finally passing on the torch and kind of telling him it's up to you now, handing him back the tags like that before he leaves Earth. It's like that's a really good moment. I love me a good Anderson Shepard moment always.
No, I agree with that. I also will say, touching on the Reapers, because like they are the point of the game. I agree with you. They do a good job of making the Reapers seem like a threat, and it's something where
I mean,
it's
an
like,
unstoppable threat. They come in and decimate everything instantly.
exactly.
Basically.
That's what I mean. And like the way everyone talks about them, the way they're feared, their freaking Christopher Nolan laser beam that shakes your screen every time it fires. The brrr.
Yeah.
And
Eat your
it's
heart
just-
out, Christopher Nolan. Reaper, go burr.
Yeah, there you go.
Let Christopher Nolan make a Mass Effect movie.
Oh, dude, I'd
Man.
watch it. That's
Yeah.
fair.
You wouldn't be able to hear shit. You'd go deaf within the first 5 seconds.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted. But yeah, it does set the stage for like, oh, this is a get your stuff together, guys. Like this is a threat. They just blew up Earth, and so it makes you genuinely scared and like anxious about like how are we gonna beat these things? They're almost indestructible. The first 2 games were just about beating like one of them each, and it's just like, how does this work? And so yeah, I think it paints it well. And while I think like if all it was just like, Shepard going into action and things are blowing up, then it's great. But like Seth said, there's a lot of other storylines, like Shepard's trial, these other new characters that are getting introduced, like
Old characters being brought back. Yeah,
old
it's all
characters
kinds
being
of
brought.
shit.
Yeah, it's just these things where I'm like, it would have been nice to see them, but like
Maybe just a hair later.
yeah, just
Be
a
like-
hair later, yeah, or like you
And
either,
or flush it out a lot more before.
it's like yeah, we either talk about this later, which I guess it'd be weird to do a trial later when the Reapers are attacking, but still, or what probably was originally the plan, you do it before, and then you do this big attack. But I do agree. It sets up the enemy quite well. Just was a little probably rushed. So, moving on to
One thing, since you talked about the Reapers, one more thing I want to touch on. And this was my biggest disappointment, just because, and I think it's the most nerdiest disappointment, because it was something that was set up all the way back with Mass Effect 1 and 2, where the Reaper designs are all like in the lore up in Mass Effect 1 and 2. The idea was the Reaper designs are based on the races that they've conquered and harvested,
yes.
right? Like that's something that they say.
Yes.
Here, they're all the same squid design that oh my god, what was the ship's name in Mass Effect 1? Sovereign.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
they're all sovereign ship.
Yeah, which disappoints me, especially since, yes, it looked a little weird, but Mass Effect 2 set it up where they were building a human Reaper. And it was like, I'm a little disappointed that all the Reaper designs are largely the same squid design.
I see. So like you would want to see like, oh, that's the one that looks like a Prothean. That's the one that looks like a different race. Like
Yeah, like something weird, get more weird and
Yeah.
alien with it, I will say they do a good job of like the body horror elements of like the Reaper ground units, so things like the cannibals and stuff, where they're
Yeah,
like
being
these
Batarians.
former Batarians or humans. Like they all look like they're just bioorganic sludge fused together, and you kind of see their faces and like the skin and all that. It's like fucking nightmare fuel. It's like that's awesome. I love that shit. I just wish that same amount of attention would have also went to the Reapers. That's all. That's my little like nerd critique is like, technically the lore says that they're all different.
Hey, you know, if you're
Push
gonna
his
nerd
glasses
out and get focused on the lore, this would be the game to do it. So that's fair. But yeah, moving on to, we talked about a few of the other characters, and you know, you mentioned Anderson, but a couple of the other, mainly on Earth, you know, you get kind of launched away from Earth relatively fast, but you do meet some characters. You know, you're reintroduced to Anderson, Caden, or that other girl are there.
Who?
Exactly. Ashley.
That's an inside joke. It's
Yeah,
Ashley.
it's Ashley. Yeah, Caden or Ashley are there, and also you're introduced to Vega, James Vega. So James Vega is a. I've
I'm
learned.
glad you and I had the same response.
James Vega is the most underrated character in this game, and I will fucking stand by
Oh,
that.
that was not the response I was going for. I was going because he's hot, but
He's that too.
We got some Vega lovers in here, but for two very
being said,
different
though,
reasons.
I love James Vega, but also James Vega is built like a fucking Gears of War character. He is in the wrong game.
He is. He has the body mask of Garrus, and that's an alien, and like.
Bro is built like fucking Kratos. Like,
bro, there's one
huge.
argument where he's like, "No, raw muscle can beat like biotics," and you look at him and you're like, you know, he's wrong, but he's making a case. Like,
it's like maybe not most people, but there's a chance that Vega could.
So,
but anyway,
yeah,
we'll get to characters as maybe
no,
further
this is
on.
character right now. This is him.
Oh, we're doing okay.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
we're
Vega.
doing
We'll just go with him as we get
Yeah.
introduced to him. That works
yeah,
for me.
yeah.
Okay, so
Because that's better than like
I gotta
all at once. Yeah.
I gotta take the helm on Vega here because
I was gonna throw
I'm
it to
gonna
you. Yeah.
All right, perfect. I have to take the helm just because, like, I'm gonna start with I understand why a lot of Mass Effect fans hate him because his purpose, at least within the first few hours of the game, is to basically be the stand-in for the audience that decided they're gonna jump into Mass Effect starting at 3. He's like, what's all this stuff? What's the Reapers? It's like, he is stupid. There's no other way around it. He's just dumb, and he's constantly having to ask questions and all this shit, and he's all super like, dude, bro. It's pretty clear that he's kind of created to sort of grab onto like the Call of Duty audience, since Mass Effect is now branching out and trying to bring in more people. But once you get past that part, I think he legitimately has a interesting story arc about him being kind of like Shepard's student in some way.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of it is kind of teaching him how to be cool. Not cool. James is already cool. I mean, cool as in keep a cool head about like the decisions you're. Yeah, be responsible, make the choices, especially since his arc kind of culminates with him wanting Shepard's advice on whether he should go through the N7 training program or not. I think that's awesome. It's little things like that. But also, Vega's just funny. I think I would think there's all like this space magic and like ancient like machines rising from dark space trying to destroy the universe, and then you have James here who's like his biggest solution is bring a bigger gun. One of my favorite moments is whenever there's one particular mission where you have to like assign a squad mate to repair a terminal, and everybody else is like kind of stocky, is like, you got it, Shepard, but Vega's like scratches the back of his head and he's like, all right, I guess I'll give it a shot, and then he just like stares at the console for a second and then just fucking kicks it, and then like as you're fighting to defend them, you're looking over there, you just see this fucking meathead just kicking the shit out of the console to get it to work, and I'm like, I love Vega.
And it does though. It works.
It does. Holy, he's the most broiest bro that has ever broed.
All right, calm down, because Garrus is in the game.
Yeah,
calm down with that. Calm down.
Okay, well, Garrus is a bro, but like Vega is like,
he's a Chad.
He's all the qualities of like a frat boy in one man, minus the toxic shit.
I don't know. Some of the female cast might disagree with that last part, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a fair point.
No, he is just
Especially
a
when
frat
he
dude.
hits on some.
Yeah.
But like he's
I-
not okay. He has some of those toxic elements, but they're not that bad with them.
No.
It could be way worse.
No, it
Um,
I will, because before I started this game up, the only thing I knew about Vega was everyone hated him because he's the only character in the game that talks to you like you didn't save the universe twice already, which, by the way, you have.
Yeah.
So he's like,
yeah, he's like, yeah, who are you? And you're like, have you heard of me, Commander Shepard?
Yeah.
I saved your galaxy twice, motherfucker.
yeah, like that's. So it's like, what kind of disrespect is this? Like what? But I'm glad that like before I talked about this game says like, wait, no, this guy's fucking hilarious. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I lean more towards that idea of just like, he's a fucking dumbass and he's so funny. He's like he's like somehow he's stupider than Rex, and but he's also still as like gun ho, and I kind of love him.
He's also, I forgot to mention this, he is your typical Hispanic like kind of character where he has to throw in a pendejo or some shit like that, where he has to throw in like some sort of like awkward Spanglish in there to
Yeah.
like let the white people audience know, like, by the way, this guy is Hispanic. I
couldn't-
I can say this safely because I talk with Alex. She's a big fan of Mass Effect. She's also Hispanic, and we both kind of joke about like, we both don't get us wrong, we both love James Vega, but he is just, he's so much. We love him for that.
Oh gosh. Randy, any comments on Vega?
The selfish part of me wishes I could romance him as male Shepard, but you can't. And even as female Shepard, you actually can't really. So
He's actually surprisingly professional about it. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I can't date my commander or something like that. He's like, damn, that's surprisingly mature.
you're
for-
professional, but also I'm Commander Shepard and I've saved the galaxy.
Yeah. But also, you're gonna call me Shepard, you're gonna call me Commander, motherfucker.
But
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that is.
that's all.
Okay. Fair enough.
He's fine. He's a lovable himbo, and
Yeah.
we love him for that.
That's a good way to put it. He is a himbo. He's your favorite Hispanic himbo.
Yeah, basically.
That man is barely Hispanic. I would not be surprised if it comes out like he actually has no idea how to speak Spanish. He learned a few keywords to say at the end of phrases. All right, but yeah, moving on to Tachanka. So Tachanka, its storyline is, and to be fair, this is probably my favorite story in all of Mass Effect was the Genefade issue, because it involved two of my favorite characters, which was Rex
wait.
and Morton.
Oh,
What?
hold on. I gotta.
skipping a large part here. You're skipping over
The Mars part.
Mars and also Palaven.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
leapfrogging.
Yeah.
But Drew, before you get there, I just remembered James Vega is voiced by Freddie James Prinze Jr., which, if you don't know, he is Fred in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies from the early 2000s. But
Yeah.
Drew,
Oh, he is a himbo.
But also, Drew, you might appreciate this. Freddie Prinze Jr. also voices Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels.
Oh hell yeah! He became a dad. Good on the man.
Also, if you want to get even deeper into it, he did marry Sarah Michelle Gellar, who that's Buffy, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'm bad with
She
like
is.
real. I'm bad with real persons' names. So you are asking the wrong,
Yeah, she's
person.
Buffy the Vampire. She is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So
That's cool. That's cool.
Wu also starred in the live-action, not Spider-Man, the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. She was Daphne.
Oh wait, I knew that. Right, because I knew that they actually got together in real life. I didn't know that he was Kanan and and Vega. But I knew that
Yeah.
Fred and Daphne in the live action thing actually did get together. Well, that's
In
cool.
real life, they look up, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And-
Mars.
Yeah, sure, Mars. Yeah.
Go to Mars.
Sorry, I gotta be quick. It's a long game, and I know I said it's gonna be long. I don't want this to be 4 hours. But Mars.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
I'll do a quick synopsis. You go to Mars. You go, oh shit, Cerberus is here. You fight some Cerberus people, but their faces are all fucked up. We'll learn more about that later. Um, and you get to you pretty much go there because they're like, hey, we ended up finding a Prothean like archive on on Mars. Um, and Liara's there, and so you meet up, and that's how you found out about this big weapon to defeat the Reapers called the Crucible. There you go. That's Mars.
Okay.
We can talk about
Yeah.
Liara now if you want, since now we've met Liara.
Sure.
I feel
Yeah.
like we need
Well.
to talk about the Crucible.
Or maybe
we
Crucible.
gotta address,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's address the big red flag in the room, which is the Crucible.
The
Which is
MacGuffin.
Being on
basically-
Mars. Or not
Well,
being on
it's
Mars,
the
but the
fact-
plans for it.
Yeah, the plans for it was on Mars, even though it stated the very first Mass Effect game that they have known about the Prothean artifacts. You would figure they would have already found this thing, considering like that's what jumpstarts humanity to like the mass relays and all that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so this was just hidden on Mars the whole time. But to go even further with it, it is kind of like one of those big plot conveniences where it's just like, oh, it turns out there was a super weapon being built by all the previous races to take out the Reapers, but they were never able to complete it until now. And it's kind of like, it sort of feels like a cheap way of like, how do you defeat the unstoppable threat? Well, we had this big secret gun we've been building this
Yeah.
whole time.
It's a-
James was right. Just
Holy
big
shit.
gun.
Maybe
James was right.
Maybe James is a Prothean. Oh my gosh. Where's that Mass Effect theory?
James knows what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it admittedly, and I wouldn't think it's so much lazy writing if it felt like it would have been hinted at before. But I'm telling you, man, there's nothing as far as I could tell with Mass Effect that ever indicates that there was a Crucible being built
Yeah.
ever.
And you would think that, of all people, Liara would be the one, given that she's a freaking archaeology nerd, just be like, yeah, every race
Who's
keeps
obsessed
talking.
with the Protheans.
Yeah, every race keeps talking about this big weapon that's shaped like a dildo in the sky and that could kill everything. But I don't know anything about it. But no, never. It's not brought up until like, hey, so the Reapers are basically unkillable. It's fine. We just happened to find the thing that kills them right after they actually got here. It's a good thing we found this.
It's not even brought up in Mass Effect 1 when you meet with like the Virgil VI that preserved a bunch of Prothean, that its purpose was to preserve all the Prothean scientists so they can hopefully wake up after the Reaper invasion is over and continue their work. It's just like, you mentioned all this stuff about the Reapers coming in and the scientists, and you have it to power down the pods, and eventually there weren't enough left to keep the Prothean race going. You mentioned all that, but you never mentioned the Crucible that they were working on.
And you know what's the funniest part? Every time, like, Shepard's like, why did you guys not bring this up before? They're like, well, we had to wait for humanity, whoever the domino waves was ready. And it's just like, no, I feel like when you told us that a threat's coming, the next sentence should have been, and here's how to deal with it. Instead of like, there's a threat coming. Good luck!
Just no mention of this big mega super weapon.
Yeah, of the one thing that would work.
Like, I mean, listen, I know it's been beaten to death in Star Wars, but even like the Death Star basically became an open secret at some point in that fucking series.
Yeah. At least that one had a little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
So
Here it's just like, it's some fucking bullshit.
yeah, it is kind of just like, and here I'm almost curious, like, what would have been the plan? Like the original, if they had more time to work on Mass Effect 3, what was the original idea to beat these things?
The dark energy. The dark energy.
Yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, it totally would have been that. Yeah.
Because like the idea was like I was talking about, like this sun isn't supposed to be dying in Mass Effect 2. She talks about in her recruitment mission, that this sun shouldn't be reaching the late stages of its life yet. It should be like centuries from now, but it's already accelerating so quickly. And she explains that it's the dark energy being manipulated. I think the idea was there was going to be a big plot line explaining how the Reapers manipulate dark energy as part of its harvesting process, but somehow the council races and all the good guys or whatever would figure out how to reverse that to use it to their advantage to fight the Reapers. But obviously that that plot line got killed. So we got
Yeah.
Super Gun instead.
Big gun.
Big gun, go Burr. Well, speaking of everyone's favorite blue archaeologist, I forgot what that word was. Yeah, let's talk about Liara. She is definitely better than she was in Mass Effect 1, and she kind of continues to like have that same. I still think she had more personality in like the Shadow Broker DLC, but to be fair, that was an entire DLC dedicated to her and writing around her. So that's probably why. She's fine. She's not my romance choice.
Damn.
So
Seth.
Well, even not as a romance choice, I think she's a great companion. I think she's
I think
the
she's a
best
great
ever
friend.
been in.
oh no,
Yeah,
she's a
companion.
great friend. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I don't like dislike the character at all. I was just saying like she was the person I chose.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah. No, I wasn't.
If you're
I
talking
didn't.
about
That,
romance, like I get that.
that came off as a diss more than that meant to. No, she's not. She's not a bad character at all. Sorry.
Me and Randy are about to like fucking drive to Nashville and beat the shit out of you for that.
I'm trying to get you guys to drive to Nashville. No, I'm joking.
But
No, just being.
Uh.
No, I'm a loyal fan. All right, I'm a loyal husbando. I can't be talking about other females, but you can, Seth. So you tell me about Liara.
yeah, I mean, like we talked about how she got such a major glow up in Mass Effect 2, and this just gives more room for her to shine. Here in 3, she still like has like some of those nerdy tendencies, and if anything, they come out way more in Mass Effect 3. Especially after her interactions with one certain character that we'll meet soon. She's still that kind of like lovable kind of like archaeologist, but she's also a little bit more world weary. What I love is that she's such a supporting figure to Shepard, whether you romance her or not.
Yeah.
She's always very close to that character, especially since I think a big theme of Mass Effect 3 is showing that Shepard can't do this by himself or herself, however you decide to play it. Shepard can't handle this by themselves. They need their squad, especially Liara, because one of the things I've kind of talked about before with one of my friends, Jake, is I can totally see it where, God forbid, if something happened to Shepard, if he were to be killed off or something very early on, or like he wasn't able to be brought back, I could totally see the story still continuing with Liara, because Liara really steps up as like a leader also in this game. Like she's basically the right hand person to Shepard. And like she's just like she's smart. She's making like decisions. She's taking charge of like situations. But also like she's looking ahead. I think one of my favorite moments in the game is whenever it's a big moment of doubt where she's trying to come up with a contingency in case their plan doesn't work and they all get killed off by the Reapers anyways. And she's trying to figure out like recording their history. And she gets to the part about what she's going to do for Shepard. So she asks Shepard, what do you want me to put down? I don't know what dialogue choice you picked there, Drew, but I asked like Liara, like, you tell my story. You tell it the way you see me. And oh my God, that scene is awesome. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking good, dude. It was like, oh, you really think that way about me? And like she talks about like the decisions that you made as a leader, if you cared about taking care of other people. She even brings up your class too. If you're an engineer, she brings up that you're a great technician, all that. Like,
yeah, I was a
it's
Vanguard,
such a
so
cool
I think
little
she said
moment.
something about like you're always the first one to dive in. I'm like, I do like Bionic Charge. That is, I do that a lot.
But I really do like Liara. I think she's great in this game. While my usual romance is typically Tally.
Correct.
I did on my Mass Effect Legendary playthrough decide to go with Liara because I'd never done a full from 1 through 3 playthrough where I romance Liara, and I did it, and it's really good. I just love those like bonding moments between her and Shepard. There's a really good one in one of the DLCs where you just invite her over to the house and like you're just talking about like the old times and all this, and it's like a nice little bonding thing. And then like Liara just like plays on the piano for him, and it's like, this is really sweet. Like it's just, she's great. I really like her. Like, is she my go-to romance? No, not really, but I do appreciate her as a character just because she's always. It feels like out of everybody on the Normandy, she understands most the weight that Shepard has to carry to do this mission.
Even other than Shepard, she has a lot of like really cool moments, even with other characters, especially Garrus. There's moments, and there's one. And I won't talk too heavily, but like before like the final mission, where they're talking to each other, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we've been here and known each other. Like it's felt like we've known each other the longest, and like we've been through like so much together." And there's like there's a nice conversation, even with other characters, not just her and Shepard.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one too with Garrus. I just now remembered that. It's like, oh yeah, the one where they're kind of talking about like, yeah, we've met a lot of people, but like we're kind of like the oldest ones. I think also like you kind of get a similar conversation if you bring Tally along too, where it's just like, yeah, we've been with Shepard forever. It's like I like that too. Them talking about them as like the original crew. It's nice little character moments like that. This game is packed full of that kind of stuff too.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what holds this series together is the character moments.
But we don't want to hog up all the Liara love here, Randy. Like, do you want to jump in on this?
Oh, I mean, like, it is kind of funny though that the first time you see Liara in 3 is she's escaping through the vents from Cerberus. But I mean, she does immediately follow it up for after like hopping out of that. The Cerberus guys like start to fall out the thing behind her. She hits them with singularity, which basically like holds them in place, shoots them out of the sky with her pistol, and then double taps them on the ground. Like Mass Effect 1 Liara would never.
Yeah, that move, how quickly she fucking pulled out that pistol and just gunned them down while they were
double
floating.
Taps them on the ground. Like shit.
Yeah, it was cold as shit. I love that. Also, yeah, I do agree. It's like, why the fuck did they fall into the vents? They're like these big, bulky soul. Liara, I can understand getting through the vents because she's small. She can kind of squeeze in through there. But those fuckers, and 2 of them, and they're like bumping into each other and shit. Just like, why the fuck did you jump in here?
All right, Seth, calm down. All right, they're sensitive about their weight. All right, they could have. They're on this weight loss program. In a couple weeks, they would have fit through that vent, no problem.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I agree. Liara's grown a lot since the first game of being kind of like a bumbling, just like, oh,
Shepard,
I'm sorry, and I'm
the Messiah, like that.
Yeah, kind of just fawning over Shepard to where I think that's the cool thing about her character is like, she does become her own person. Sorry, Randy, you go ahead.
No, I mean you're right, but yeah, that's Liara and that's Mars.
Yeah, I do. Last thing I will say about Liara, and this also does kind of have to go with Tally, but there is some funny moments when like it's during one of the DLCs, so I probably should have waited to talk about it now, but I want to talk about it now. There's moments when like they're even kind of making fun of how her old character was. I think it's is it Tally or Garrus?
I'm trapped in a bubble.
It's Garrus.
Yeah, it's that.
No, it's fucking Garrus.
It's Tally. It's Tally.
No, it is Tally. It's Tally.
It is Tally.
No, it's Garrus. No, because Garrus, I have this voice line.
They both make fun of her.
Like burned into my brain where Garrus like makes fun of her for saying like by the goddess, and he does like a really good fucking impression of her. I think it's like, damn, dude.
I think it's both of them because it's like a group conversation.
Both of them do make fun of her.
Like, by the
I've always got Garrus. I always got Garrus version then.
Well, I think you can get both lines. It's not like a one or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like even the game knows like she's grown so much as a character and become such a better character. But yeah, that's Liara and that's Marth. Now can I talk about Tachanka?
No, we have to go to Paladin.
No, we got
the best boy.
God, yeah. All
right, you go to Palaven, you don't even go to Palaven. You go to the moon of Palaven. They were originally going to go to Palaven, which is the Turian homeworld.
But it's getting the shit beat out of it.
Well,
yeah.
I feel like they also would have done it if they had more development time, but we touched on that at the beginning anyway. Anyway, you go to the moon of Palaven. You go there, you get you're supposed to get the Primarch for the Turians, so that way, because you're like, hey, they have like the biggest military.
Yeah. They're good at
So
shooting.
they are.
Yeah.
So you show up there, and they're like, hey, we'll help you if you get the.
The Primarch?
Why am I?
The
Well, yes,
Primarch?
get the.
Or his...
No. Krogan. If you get the Krogan to help Paladin, we'll help you, basically, is what happens.
Yeah.
And you go there and you meet up with Garrus. He shows up, and I forget what rank he is, but he's high ranked in the military. And is like pretty much a specialist advisor on the Reapers, since he's been helping you fight them.
He's the only one with experience on them.
Yeah, what I love too is like when you do, like you mentioned the Primarch also, just to show how devastating the situation is. It's kind of like, hey,
am I the Primarch? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like you meet with like one of the guys. I can't remember his name, Victus maybe.
Yeah.
But you kind of meet with him. It's just like, so yeah, you're the new Primarch now because of the chain of command. Because the Reapers of our ripped through like a lot of our top leaders. So you're what's left.
For the guys,
Which is like,
guys even like, dude, I'm like 5th in, like 10th in line. What the hell? He's like, yeah.
It's pretty fucked. Like I think the best way to put it is, imagine if it was like not even like if we got invaded by an alien and it like the president after the chain of command wasn't even the third in line, the Speaker of the House. It's like the 5th or 6th one down the fucking line in the span of like 30 minutes.
It's like that ABC show. It's called Designated Survivor because the real life thing of technically all the members cannot be in one location at one time in case like the building blows up. So like there's a TV show that's like the president, the vice president, the speaker, and like 50 lines down, everyone just like is in a building except for one guy, and that's the designated survivor, and he becomes president because it blows up, and like that's what this is. It's just like we're so far down the line. We're just anyone that has any kind of experience.
It's. Go ahead.
I was just gonna move forward. But yeah, so you get there, you meet the Primarch, and he's like, you need both us and we need the Krogan on our side, yada yada. And like Randy said, you meet Victus. You meet Primarch Victus, you meet his son, and that's where you reunite with the real best bro, which is Garrus. And Randy, what other important plot details am I skipping over? Because I just want to talk about Garrus.
You don't meet Primarch Victus' son. You meet him later, and technically a side quest.
Well, yeah, I just meant I guess I was kind of just.
You meet Primarch Victus, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll help you." No, you're not skipping everything. Now let's get to the good part. Let's talk about the best bird boy, Garrus.
There you go. Okay, cool. I was like, I know I said that out of order. All right, cool. Garrus is the best. Garrus is. I think I've said this to you before. If I ever did a replay, I'd be femship for the sole reason of I would let the homie hit. Just to because
that's fair.
He's a fucking bro.
I didn't realize on my first playthrough of Mass Effect 3 I couldn't romance Garrus as male, and I was so disappointed.
That is one of, and like I don't mean this just to like be like a joke or it actually is unironically like I would even think it drops a lot of the series down point how little options there are for man on man, but there's so many for femship.
Oh yeah, there's like I think in Mass Effect 3 there's Cortez and Kaidan.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And that's it.
Isn't 2?
So my first playthrough, I was just like, huh. Oh well.
I guess Cortez. Yeah. Which actually, I realize if you pick the other option that's not Kaidan, Randy, this is where you say the joke.
Who?
There you go. Wow, really, really.
I thought you were still talking about Cortez. I'm like, Cortez isn't who.
No, I mean, gosh, yeah. If you don't pick Kaidan in Mass Effect 1, let Ashley leave. That means in Mass Effect 3, you have a one gay option. And it's this new character which I like Cortez. He's cool, but like, is your only option. You just met this guy.
It's kind of like, I don't, nothing to fault anyone who does decide to romance Cortez. Like, hey, it's up to you. You're fine. It's a little weird to me just because like Cortez is like, part of his story is he's mourning the loss of his husband.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, feels a little, and it's fairly recent because he died to the Reapers, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
He died a while back.
He died a while back. He just hasn't gotten over it, and the Reapers like remind him of it. I think he died to the Collectors. I think that's what it was. So technically, yes.
It might. No, wait. Yeah, no. I think you're right. I think it might have been like the Collectors. He might have been one of the people collected.
Because he got away from the Collectors, but like, I think his name's Robert was his husband. Told him like, get on and like move on, like don't hold on to me or whatever. Some sappy, stuff. So
it's funny that we're talking about this, and I just remembered that we went to the Mars part, and we talked all about this shit, like about the companions and like all the plot points on Mars, but we didn't mention at all about the other companion that you have at this point.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I realized I forgot about Edie. I was gonna.
No, it wasn't even Edie. It's fucking Caden or Ashley. It's one of them.
Oh shit!
Like,
oh shit! You're right. Look, we've talked enough about Caden and Ashley on the other. What more do you want to say?
I mean, I feel like
we probably don't need to go super in depth on not new characters, considering we have a whole podcast about ranking the Mass Effect 2 squad mates.
Like,
what more do
are a lot of
here, by the way. I think it's worth mentioning that, like, by the way, Caden or Ashley is here. That's about it.
I mean, yeah,
they're here.
But like, they're there.
They're here, and they're here until I get Garrus, and then I just run with Liara and Garrus. Basically, until I get Tally, and then I run with Garrus and Tally, just like Mass Effect 1.
I put one of the new characters on the team every once in a while, which we'll get to him later. Caden's here. There's Seth. That's all I have to say about him. Back to the fun characters. Garrus is awesome.
Also, we didn't talk about like the Elusive Man showing up, and he's a bad guy now.
We'll talk about that. We talk about them on the.
Oh yeah, that does happen on Mars.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we did sort of. I do think that's a little important. By the way, the Elusive Man is here, and he's like not really working for the Reapers. He's trying to study them, but he's also saying "fuck you" to everybody else, kind of.
Yeah, I was planning on bringing up the Elusive Man during like the final thing and talking about his character all at once. But also, like, again, guys, this is a lot. This is a big game. There's a lot in here. I'm gonna like we'll try our best to get everything, but like,
Drew will be lucky if this doesn't turn into a fucking 3-parter.
It's going to. So it's just like I get it. My notes are only so long, man. There's a lot of characters we need to talk about. Like again, like we said about Garrus, he's a great companion. There's a lot of really great moments with him, especially if you do like his loyalty thing. I don't know what the date is for like the girl, but at least if you're a guy, you go on like a bridge and like shoot shit like bros.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Okay, it's the same thing. Cool, cute date.
It's the same thing, but it like ends in a kiss, and he like dips you, and it's nice.
No. And unfortunately,
and he's basically like, "Are you ready to be a one-Turian type of woman?" And I'm just like, "Yes, I am, Garrus. Thank you."
I am a one-Turian woman.
Also, Drew, I gotta ask: what did you do? Did you let him win?
Oh hell no.
Ah, you fucker.
No, real bros keep it honest, man. You would know.
I let him
win. You gotta keep it fair and honest.
You get one of the best lines in the game.
I don't know. How would I know?
Yeah, Garrus literally just mocks Shepard, where he's just like, "My name is Garrus Vicarian, and this is my favorite spot on the Citadel." This is like, yeah, that's fucking great.
Look, I like the man.
You missed out.
I like the man. I love the man. But he's got to remember why they call me Commander. All right, you gotta keep that line in check. Nah, Garrus is great.
Drew values his pride more than his friends.
Exactly. Why do you think I introduced this show as I'm the host? I'm just okay. Yeah, no. Garrus is like, he is. I think. Would anyone argue with me if I said I think Garrus is probably the best male character in all of Mass Effect? Probably a few would argue, but I'm gonna say it.
Oh man, like I mean, Rex is such a
Rex is also a bro.
Character.
Rex is definitely up there. I'll top 3. How are we all comfortable with that?
Garrus I can say that. Yeah.
All right.
I'm
top
cool with
3.
Garrus being up there, top 3.
Yeah, because I can think of the other 2. But yeah, no, Garrus is great. There's not much more we can say about him. He was highly ranked in that other podcast we talked about, and so we go into much more detail on that. Finishing off the kind of like Palaven like kind of sideline, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I like the story and I like the Turians and like that race, but like going back, I don't know if it's as memorable as like some of the other side things, and I don't know if that's just me or maybe that's just because of the first one and like it got overshadowed, or maybe I need to like replay it and remember things. But
yeah, it's kind of like you're still in the tutorial almost, where just like it's trying to speed things because like Palaven, like I don't know, it feels like that there could have been more there, and there probably likely were bigger plans for Palaven, but they were kind of like, we got to get this going. We get it. This is the closest anybody has gotten in the Mass Effect games to the Turian homeworld, and it's a shame we can't do more, but we have to speed this along. That's kind of the impression I get.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it too. I'm just like, there's a few cool moments with like the bomb that's like, oh wait, there's that. No, wait, that's on Tachanka. Never mind.
Speaking of Tachanka,
yeah,
shall we?
All right, sure. Yeah, can I? We'll just go to Tachanka right now because I
want me to summarize this part. I got this.
All right,
you can summarize this part. Summarize the other two.
So basically, to make things short, Shepard's like, all right, I'll get the Krogans. He goes to the Citadel. He's like, Council, help me out. Reapers are in vain. They're like, fuck you. We got our own shit going on, man. And then like Shepard's like, fine, I'll go get the Krogan. He goes to Tachanka. He like enlists Rex. Rex is like, hey, we'll help out the Turians if you can cure the genophage, and that's where things get kicked off at. So they go to a Solarian world, a lab to where they are doing experiments on a female Krogan that could potentially cure the genophage. All right, do you want to pick up from there, Drew?
Yes. Because this storyline is my favorite in all of Mass Effect, is the Genophage storyline. Not only because it's super interesting in the way that it connects to the world, but also because it involves 2 of my favorite characters, which is Morton and Rex. Love them both for equal and different reasons. And it's really cool, their different perspectives on the Genophage. Rex views it as completely evil and just like, it's awful that this happened to my people. But Morin sees it as, it's a bad thing that happened and I'm working to stop it, but it was necessary at the time. Or at least that's like a perspective. He talks about it different ways, and he even kind of like, it's interesting. Like, I never got a full grasp of, and he never really answers either, just like how he views on it. It's always so interesting.
Oh man,
I don't know. I'm rambling right now because I'm going fast. But it's,
no, I get it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it when we get to the choice, because I'll help inform you on this.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting story, and I think the whole Genophage storyline is like one of, if not the best in all of Mass Effect. On top of those 2 characters being some of the best characters in the game. But yeah, so you go into this, and this is where you learn about the Turians put a bomb on this place in case the Genophage didn't work. So you have to deal with that while rescuing the Primarch's. Yeah, he's called a Primarch. His son, which also is kind of like a, what the hell mission? Like, why didn't you guys tell me about this? I'm not saying like that's a bad thing for the game. It, like, as Shepard, you asked this question, and it makes sense because at the time they were scared of the Krogan, and it makes sense of why they would take these measures. But The problem isn't that. The problem always comes of, but you left it there. Even when they were suffering and at their lowest, at no point you left it there, and now we have to deal with this, and like when basically the world's ending. So it's just another problem, and kind of just adds to the theme of Mass Effect of if you just kind of let things linger, and the longer you let it linger, the more of a problem it will be in the future, which is the whole issue with the Reapers. So that's cool.
I think like the big theme here is kind of like, especially with the Krogan, is like the sins of the past always come up. Like whether it's the genophage or the Shroud having a sabotage thing inside it, or the Turians leaving a fucking nuclear bomb in one of its cities as a failsafe.
And you just forgot about it, I guess.
Yeah. And like the thing is like Turian lifespans are like humans. So while there's probably Krogan that were alive whenever that bomb was put there, and they didn't know about that, they're still alive. Turians, they're kind of like us. They only live so long, so it's not like, hey, it wasn't my idea, it was the people of the past's idea. But it's still like, it's a fucked up thing that they did, and you're now paying for it.
But you still knew about it, and you did nothing about it. So that's an interesting quest. But kind of the ultimate thing, and the thing that we all really want to talk about, and I can feel Seth wanting to talk about it, is ultimately at the end of this quest is, at least for me personally and my personal journey through it, because of the decisions I made, probably the saddest moment of this game, where Mordin chooses to sacrifice himself to not only cure the genophage, but like, save this entire race and allow them to continue to like produce. From what you guys have told me, the only way to really save him is really terrible things and just be like,
you got to set it up from the first game.
Like, it's like you have to have been playing specifically to save him. And even what you guys have told me what you have to do, I'm like, I think that's worse. Like,
it's really bad. You basically have to keep sabotaging the Krogan all the way up until this point to make sure this goes through.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
So it's one of those things where like it has to happen this way, but it doesn't make it any easier to get through. With Mordin sacrificing himself. So
yeah, but Mordin sacrifices. Oh my god! Like, I will definitely like say that like it's one of my favorite moments in the game. I know we kind of skipped over the grunt part. I would say that we'll get to that later. But up until this point, you haven't really had a real death happen yet in the game, where like someone Anderson hasn't died. And then like there's sort of depending on your choices, obviously, but there's sort of like a fake out with Grunt and like his little side mission. No one has died, but this is the first death that happens, and it's like, oh my god, this is really happening. A main character in the series has died.
It was super beloved. I know. Like, we are all like, dude, Garrus. And now that I think about it, and I think it's brought up a little in the Mass Effect 2 like character review. I love Garrus, but I think in regards to like how our character is written, I think I might prefer like Mordin, to be honest.
He has the best arc out of all like the characters. I do agree with that.
Yeah, his arc is like amazing.
Yeah, he. Yeah, no.
One of the things to add on to that arc is like, oh my god, it's such a heartbreak. So obviously there's the Dala Trust thing where she tells you about the thing. You can choose to inform Rex or not, whatever, blah blah. So there's one line that's delivered so well. And I really highly recommend that you look this up on YouTube to watch it, because the voice actor just nails it as Mordin here. But it's whenever you're at the Shroud, and it's if you decide as Shepard to try to talk Mordin out of like curing the genophage. And basically Shepard and Mordin get into this big argument where they're going back and forth with each other. And then Shepard is like, I don't understand. You have been saying this whole time that we needed the genophage. What has changed? What makes you think differently now? And then Mordin just snaps at Shepard. He just yells, I made a mistake. Like, and it's just like, holy shit. It's like, and it's like, oh my god. and like you have to kind of be a dick to get that out of Morden, but it kind of shows that Morden is finally done pretending, trying to justify what he's did. He's just fully owning up to it finally, where he's just like, this was a mistake, and he has to own up to it. And I love that. And like, even though you have to be a really big dick to make this happen, it shows that Morden is no longer kind of trying to hide behind his words of what he did.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn, that's so good.
It's
good fucking writing.
It's so good because like the entire point of 2 and 3 and some of those interesting conversations are more in talking about the fact that like, no, I started the Genofade. I am proud of that because it was a successful experiment. It's awful what they did to the people, but it was necessary. And he keeps saying it was necessary. I need to do it. I'll try to fix, or he never says fix. He's like, I'll try to cure it and stop it.
No, he doesn't even think about curing it for the longest time.
Well, yeah, I mean, like
until literally like this one, he's like, different parameters. So like, yeah, now it's worth fixing.
Yeah, well, like
different problem, different solutions. So
he kind of like, I know. I always got the intention like he maybe started coming around in 2, but like. No, definitely, you're right. Like in 3, he's like, okay, no, now it's time to fix it. And he's like, it's still fine at the time, but like, no, now, like, yeah, we need to get this back up and fixed and all that. And it
was like pulling. It was just like pulling teeth from him just to admit that he was, just to get him to admit truly that he was guilty. Because if you remember in Mass Effect 2, he's like, after the Genopage, I started looking to a lot of different religions for answers for why things are the way they are. You know, and then like if Shepard can bring it up, it's just like it kind of sounds like you're feeling guilty about this and you're just trying to find some sort of absolution out of it, and he just dismisses that.
Yeah, exactly.
But even though that's exactly it, it's just like you're running away from this. You're trying to run away from your own guilt.
And it's such a good moment of like finally, because that's the hardest thing for anyone, whether a fictional character or definitely a real character, is just to finally admit after you've been arguing for so long, like, I was wrong. I made a mistake. And that's so hard for a character like Morn, who's like, his whole character is he's a scientist. He knows everything. He talks fast because, as you said, Corey lifespan, they're short. So he has to get everything out while he can.
Solarian.
Or Solarian.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. But it's such a good moment for him to finally own up to his mistake and just be like, I need to atone for this. I have to do it. Like, it's a really good character moment for him. And again, it's sad because you love this character, but it's like, it's the ending that makes sense for him. Like,
there's really no other way for him to find redemption. There is no other way.
Exactly. So that's probably like one of, if not like, yeah, it's probably like the best moment in the game is like that conversation, that moment, just like that jaw-dropping like conclusion to that story. Yeah, I got nothing else to say about Morden's kind of story. Randy, do you anything else?
No.
Okay.
I think you guys summarized it pretty well.
We kind of went off. The only other kind of things to reference to Chunka is, as Seth mentioned, and we kind of skimmed through it because we really wanted to talk about more, but, you know, you do meet Grunt again. He has his own squad. At least in my playthrough for a good 10 minutes before we gotta get them killed. But Grunt's fine. I mean, you know, we got the queen on our side, so.
Yeah, so basically, obviously loyalty is important, but the thing that kind of dictates if Grunt dies is obviously, did you do the mission itself? But also it comes down to, I'm trying to remember this correctly. If you save the Rachni Queen in the original game, this is where that choice comes up.
Can't you?
Which is that's cool. That's a really neat kind of callback to that mission.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was like, can't you? I mean, couldn't you? I guess if you didn't save her in the first game, could you just? Because there's an option to like go help his squad, or leave them and like deal with the queen. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Could you technically not save her in the first game and then at the like, basically not save her again? And to make sure Grunt survives, Or would he
Yes, basically it comes down to being consistent with your choices.
Okay.
So if you save the Arachnite Queen in the first game, then you should spare her in
then-
3,
yeah, and then-
and that'll save Grunt.
Yeah.
But if you were to you save the Arachnite Queen, and then you kill her, then Grunt dies.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. If you kill the Arachnite Queen and then it gets replaced by this other one, then you should kill it again. So.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
because otherwise you're just fucked.
so yeah, I guess ultimately be consistent, which is what I was. I saved her twice, and both are alive. Both Grunt and her are cool. I do kind of wish she had, but I guess we'll talk about the ending later.
Do you appreciate, by the way, the structure of that mission is basically a big ass reference to Aliens again?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's what the Arachnite is. That's just an alien. That's anything related to that character is just an Aliens reference, which of course I'll always be appreciative of. It's one of my favorite horror movies.
Right, and for the people who don't know, this is the first time you ever get the flamethrower kind of heavy weapon that you can use in a fight in Mass Effect 3 is when you're clearing out this big nest of turned Reaper Arachnites.
Yeah, it's just aliens. It's just the finale of Aliens, which is great.
Which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, which is cool. So that's a cool moment. But I think that's kind of, unless I'm skipping major important details, which I probably am. But I think that is.
I got a couple that I think we should mention.
All right,
one.
go ahead.
Drew, I assume because of the way you played, you said, "Fuck the Dalatress. I ride with my homie Rex."
Oh yeah, I was trying to think, dude. That was such a not a. That was such a not an option. Who in their right mind would not ride with a homie?
Yeah, that was such a. It's all right, you get me more nerds, or I get fucking roided out Krogans, and I get to be with my best bro. Just easy choice here.
Who fucking made? I forgot that was a choice. Honestly, is how quickly I pushed that. I'm trying to remember. It's you could not do that. There's an option to.
What's funny?
Not ride with the.
What's
homie?
funny to me is they have an interruption at first with whatever dialogue choice. It's just the car hits a bump and you have to fight enemies or whatever. Then you get back in the car to talk. And then then you can make the choice to tell Rex or not. I think it's funny because it's almost think this choice over real quick. That's why we're gonna make this first one a fake one. It's I don't know. It's nah, man, fuck that shit. I ride with Rex.
No, Rex.
He's the homie.
A dick, by the way. Why would you ever trust that person? At no point. Nothing elicits the fact that this person is trustworthy. Every decision of it has been I don't like you, Shepard. Fuck you. Do this thing for me. No. Yeah.
It's eat dick. I love Rex. He's my homie. I also love that whenever you do tell him that, you have that big bro moment outside where Rex says something along the lines of "Thank you, Shepard, for everything you're doing. I'll name my firstborn after you." And then you guys just fucking, what was it? Oh, it's a fucking. They do the the Predator handshake.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. No,
the Predator handshake, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, the fucking flex side. Sure, that's great. It's awesome. Yeah, no, of course we ride the homie. Yeah. All right.
I also on Tachanka, I know there's so many things. I just gotta say, as stupid as it is, I do love the set piece of how they defeat the Reaper on Tachanka, which is just
Big worm.
summon the biggest fucking Thresher Maw we got.
Calros. You know it's bad when they name them.
God, that's so good.
That's sick. Dude, we just need to, bro. Fuck the rest of the galaxy. Let's just chill on Tachanka. Let the Reapers come. We got Calroth. We just need this thing to breathe, and we get more of them.
Is there any way we can get this thing to fly? Send it to other planets?
Just fuck building the Crucible. We just need a gun that shoots Thresher Maws.
We need about 50 more of these things. I like this. Where was that? Where was that ending, man? I wanted that ending. All right.
Oh man.
Okay. Anything else, Seth?
Oh, I'm all out. I know
Okay.
the chunk. The other parts probably won't be as big, just because the chunk is just that big of a fucking
Yeah.
arc.
Tachanka is.
It's probably the most well put together arc in this game.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if it was like the most of the time was spent on this. Because they were like, no, we've been setting up this Genofade arc since game 1. We are doing this one right.
Yeah.
Once you get done with Tachanka, you head back to the Citadel. But, very important, and this is even before you do the Tachanka mission, you have to talk to certain characters and make sure you check your email, folks. It's very important that you check your emails. Do what I...
Yeah,
don't-
who would have guessed in a role-playing game you should actually like engage in the role-playing aspects
Yeah.
And read.
Yeah.
and read.
What kind of person
I want to
wouldn't
be
read?
spoon-fed.
What kind of person wouldn't want to just like read thousands of emails that they constantly said? I did that. Anyway, so you read your email and you go talk to another contender for top 3 best boys in Mass Effect, Thane. And Thane, has a nice conversation with you at the hospital of just like, I'm here, I'm getting treatment, I'm sick, and there's not much I can do, but I'm healthy and my son's doing good. He's not killing people. And you're like, great, Thane. You're doing good, and that's good. We'll come back to you and talk about your character arc later. But yeah, so you do Tachanka, and you come back, and the Citadel is like getting its ass slapped again. It's like the 4th time this city has been fucking ransacked. But you come
But
back.
this time, it's Cerberus doing
Cerberus
the ass
this
fucking.
time. Yeah, and you're like, whoa. And so you go, and this is where you meet.
And they got those annoying ass shield enemies.
No,
Are you talking about the ones with the shields, or are you talking about
The
phantoms?
enemies with the shields.
See,
Phantoms
Oh,
are
yeah.
bad too.
I never got that issue with them for the sole reason of bionic charge into a shotgun to the mouth dealt with them quite easily. And that is how I got
The
through the
guys with
majority
the
of if you bionic charge them, because I also have a thing where you go into slow motion after you hit someone. You bionic charge them, and you get a free headshot on them if you hit the person with the shield. If you hit the person next to him, it doesn't really do much.
Oh, it knocks their shield to the side. Gotcha.
Yeah, it knocks the shield
Alright,
to the side,
cool.
so you get a free hit.
Did
so-
you know? I assume you already know this, but also if you had like the pull, like you probably
Yeah.
did.
I had pull,
if you had
so
the
yeah, I
bionic
could
pull,
do.
you can like
I
rip
had
the shield
pull,
off of
and
them.
then later I got lash. So yeah, those shield guys never really gave me much issue. Like I unironically made a perfect build to fight them. So
Nice.
quite easily for me. But yeah, you fight them, you get through that, and this is where you meet the other kind of big bad. As Randy has mentioned, what do you call him? Bad boy Kylane or naughty
Stinky.
Or
No,
s-
naughty.
Naruto
Ugh.
Kylo.
Ugh.
I don't know.
Ugh.
Yeah, Stinky Boy Kylane. That's what you call him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you meet
Kai Lang.
you meet Stinky Boy Kylane, and he tries to.
Thinking of making the game terrible.
Yeah. He's there,
He's
It was
He's-
2011. All right.
Mr.
12.
2000. Yeah, he
it was
definitely.
2012.
He definitely
Well,
has.
still, you know what I mean.
Yeah, he
Yeah, no, I
definitely
get you.
has a Akatsuki freaking Naruto jacket in his closet. He's a little anime boy,
Mm-hmm.
and he tries to kill a council member, but because you talk to him in the hospital, Thane stops him because he's a better character. He's a better written character, and that's why he stops him. So you do that, you save the Citadel, and then you meet Caden again, and Caden almost shoots you. You talk him down, or you shoot him, depending on if you're an asshole or not. I talked him down, but there's the option, and you kind of, reveal a traitor in the Citadel. This then leads to, okay, we need more help, and you go to the Quarian and Geth, which we'll talk to now, but I feel like I should backtrack and talk about all the things I just skipped over. So, Seth, Thane, how you like the character?
Well, first I thought you were going to talk about the traitor, which is Counselor
Udina.
Udina.
Yeah.
That whole standoff there. It's like
Yeah, I was gonna.
I feel like I
was trying
never
to
slapped the right trigger faster ever than here, or at
Yeah.
least the second most.
Oh no.
Fucking Counselor Udina finally
Bro.
getting his ass clapped. It's like, yes, please,
Bro,
give it to
I
me.
want to meet the person that played this game and picked Ashley instead of Kanan, and then also picked Counselor Udina versus Commander Anderson to like take over. I want to meet that guy. Because that guy's Hitler.
All the wrong choices. Yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
just every wrong decision you can make. Yeah, you meet him, he's a traitor, and you finally get to put one between his eyes. It's great.
It does feel really good. By the way, something I should also point out here. You mentioned it's a choice or not. Technically, yes, but also it really comes down to like if Caden trusts you enough. So if you didn't like visit him in the hospital and like kind of talk with him and all this stuff, Caden will actually like try to kill you.
You don't visit a man in a hospital one time, and he already pulls a gun on you.
Oh yeah, well yeah, he pulls the gun on you. Does he try to kill you? I don't know if he ever gets a shot off. I do know basically if Shepard doesn't, one of the companions like basically pops Caden.
Yeah.
Which is that's interesting.
That's a wild one.
It is. But yeah, like so obviously you wanted to talk about Thane, and I'll take over for here. So rewind back. The ass beating that Thane lays out on Kai Lang is
Stinky poo poo Kai Lang.
so fucking cool, man. He literally like he's just like dodging all of his shit, and then like I remember a part where Kai Lang's already on the ground, and then Thane just fucking pops him with the biotic bitch slap. There's no other way to do it. Like he backhands the fuck out of him. It's like, oh my god, that's so cool. But then like during the fight, Kai Lang does get the stab in on Thane, which is that sucks. I will say this much though. I forgot about this part. Thane parries a sword with a fucking gun.
As
he's
one
literally
does.
He's literally spinning that shit like a cowboy 6-shooter and just fucking blocks that fucker. It's just like, goddamn. In the words of Thane, that assassin should be ashamed that a almost half-dead Drell stopped him from his target. It's just like, goddamn, you're right, dude.
You're so fucking cool.
Now I get to talk about something that I've been holding in since the last podcast. So obviously Drew talked about like, oh, his whole prayer thing, like it's not for you, it's not for them, it's for me kind of deal. And it's like, it's so edgy. Well, this is where it pays off. So
I thought it was cool. I want to point out it was edgy, but it was cool.
Well, so Thane is in the hospital. Not just from Kai Lang's injury, but also the fact that like Kepler syndrome is finally taking its toll on him.
It was the syndrome. Kai Lang doesn't get that kill.
Yeah, it was the syndrome that got him. Fuck Kai Lang. He does. Yeah. It doesn't count.
It don't count.
But basically, so Shepard goes to visit Thane, and to me, in my personal opinion, this more than devastated me too. But I really think Thane was, for me personally, it was the most heartbreaking death in the game. Because you go to the hospital and you see him on like the life support and all that, and they kind of take the mask off to make him more comfortable. I feel like I can talk about this because it's like a little bit personal. I've talked a lot about it with Alex, about this scene in particular. So Alex was very close with her grandfather in real life. My friend Alex, who also plays these games, she was very close with like her grandfather. Whenever we met, he had cancer, and it had gotten pretty bad. And I know it like really messed with her a lot, obviously. So she would tell me about like her visits to her grandfather, and she says, because she played this game a little bit later, and it was like, I think maybe, I'm not really sure what. She got to this scene, and she said it was really tough for her to get through the Thane scene because it reminded her so much of like what she went through with her grandfather, especially the part where they removed the mask off of him to make him feel more comfortable. She said that was the exact same way with her granddad. It's, I think, and it's weird that we're I'm especially me putting so much into the death of like a video game character, but I think it's because I think what makes these scenes so like emotionally resonant is because they tap into something that I think is very familiar for a lot of people. That's very personal, and that's what makes this so touching and personal about these moments, is because they know how to, like, even in this game that's about like literal space wizards and like genocidal robots from beyond the colors of time, all this crap, you're having a very intimate moment about like a person who's about to lose one of their friends in a hospital, one of their closest people in their lives. And I think it's the thing that got me is whenever you're there with Thane's son and they're having the prayer. Thane can't finish it, so his son Kolya takes it on, and then he asks like, "Hey Shepard, could you pray along with me?" And it's like, "Sure." So you join in the prayer, and it's it's a prayer about the soul finding peace, some form of peace. They will meet at the shore. After the prayer is wrapped up, you step out of the hospital room, and Shepard asks Kolya, like, "Hey, that prayer was about redemption and forgiveness, but I believe your father already found it." And then Kolya just tells Shepard that the prayer wasn't for Thane, it was for Shepard. And that part devastated me. I think it's one of the most, it's, to me, it speaks to the selflessness of like Thane's character, where in his final moments, he wasn't thinking about himself. He wasn't worrying about what's going to happen to his soul. The last thing that he was thinking about is, I want to make sure the soul of my friend is okay. I want to make sure it's safe. And that fucked me up. It's such a emotional and powerful like moment. It's to be honest, no video game death has ever come close to that for me, ever. So yeah, like Thane's scene and the way they resolve that story arc, I think it's beautiful. I've seen this mentioned a lot, and I do think one of the best ways they could have resolved Thane's story is it was a story about a killer who, in his very last moments, wasn't trying to kill someone. He was trying to save a life. And that's like, there's something poetic about that. All right. Yeah. I'm done.
All right. Wait, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Very well said.
No, well said. I did not. There's nothing more we could add to that character. God, this is going to be a very weird transition. But
I know it.
Yeah, well, because now I have to talk about Kai Lane. No, yeah. You can't. Okay. Because now I gotta bring up. Yeah, because now me and Randy have to shit on Kai Lane. So yeah, Randy.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick to help move into this.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, because of how much he makes you hate him, do you think that is good writing? Or do you think it's just like, okay,
it's okay? Well, we got that no, Kai Lane is.
It literally would have been better if he was a silent protagonist with a mask.
Yeah,
it would have been better.
It's not even that his dialogue. It's the fact that Kai Lane is the epitome of winning the fight, losing the cutscene. It's so disheartening as a player.
Oh, yeah, also that.
When you beat the hell out of a boss fight, he's not hard. He's maybe it's just the way I play, but he's a very easy fight. And then you immediately get out of the cutscene, and Shepard just like stumbles up. This isn't the only time this happens. It happens a lot in the game. But he's like stumble over. Kai Lane's like, I have the upper hand because I'm so cool and sick. I'm like, no, you motherfucker, I'd kick your ass in the actual game. You just power the cutscenes helping you, which is a reason why it's satisfying that Kane, like you said, bionic bit slaps him. So it's just like you never really get the sense of like that he's actually like a good antagonist. Like, or if he was silent, he'd be better. He'd be nothing. But like also his entire motivation is just like, I want to kill Shepard because I want to prove I'm the best. Anime.
Yeah.
And like that's it. Like he's not that like it's not like the elusive man he's a very interesting villain, which we'll get to him at the end. Or he's not like ominous like the Reapers. He's just like this little ninja assassin dude. And like maybe it would have been better if you never actually fought him until the end. He just always stuck with stealth, and he's had like stealth shit, and was just kind of like
just have him just go ahead. He's already beaten you in cutscenes anyways. Just have him only beat you in cutscenes. Don't bother with all these repeat boss fights that are not good.
Never have him boss, because his boss fight's not satisfying either. It's easy and it's quite easy, but like you beat him down and he's like, I'm the best now, and he slaps you and goes and does whatever the story needs him to do. It feels kind of lazy. Just like don't have the boss fight until the end, because now it's not the sense of like, oh, I only lost because the game told me to lose. It's now the sense of like, oh, I want to get this guy because he keeps running away when I want to fight him. And then you finally do fight him, and he actually dies. They're just like constantly trying to just let me kill him finally.
And to just to nitpick even more, it doesn't help that his boss fight isn't unique. He's literally just a reskinned Phantom with more health, and that's really it.
Yeah.
It's like his boss fight is lame anyways, because it's mostly just you do damage to him and he summon ads and runs away. Exactly. It's just like, this is such as what's the term that Randy used in Smite? You always use in the Smite, like engaging gameplay.
Fun and interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. It's a very fun and interactive boss.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But yeah, Randy, what's the thing that you hate about Kyle Lane?
I mean, I think you summed it up about just it's the epitome of just winning in the cutscene. So he's like a frustrating character to go up against. And I remember, I haven't personally seen if there's any mods on like Nexus mod or anything like that for the PC version. But I remember hearing that, like I said it as a joke about being a modding it to where they just a face, like a masked character, and they remove all his dialogue. I'm fairly certain that that's a mod, or at least I've heard about it being a mod, or I don't know if it is or if it was just like really suggested and people like, yeah, that'd be funny if that was a mod.
You know,
Randy, overall the community doesn't like him at all.
Randy, the fact that you bring that up makes me realize something, and I think this is ultimately also the reason that like I really don't like him as well. I think if you took away all of his dialogue, nothing changes. Nothing about him or the story. You can't do that with any other character. It makes him
slightly less annoying, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but like you can't do that. If the elusive man didn't talk, he wouldn't be interesting. If you didn't have a conversation with like the Reapers after like you beat one Chachunka, they wouldn't. They're more interesting after that conversation. More on that later. But there's. But like he's the only one where like if he never spoke a word, nothing changes. He doesn't change the story. He doesn't do anything. He just changes the plot somehow and then scurries away like an idiot. And that's all he does. And you're just like, God fucking damn it, Kyling.
Yeah, he's such a bitch.
Yeah.
God, wait, I need to come up with something more compelling than that.
It's fine. It's fine.
That's right. We'll run into him later on, so you can think about it.
Yeah, I'll sit
that
on
insult's
it
not inaccurate, but yeah, it's not inaccurate. But yeah, that's the whole. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think
we'll get into it later.
Yeah, I think that's the Citadel invasion. You know, as we said, it's good that we finally killed Udina, and it's a good thing for most of us didn't shoot Kaden. But yeah, the main star of this kind of like this whole like big story mission is Thane, and then what leads into Thane's story. But what leads after this is the story. I would say like maybe my second favorite like of like the arcs, not like individual character story, but like the big plot points of Mass Effect is like the Quarian and Geth kind of war. And this is where you kind of like I should mention this is where you get reunited with the best girl, Tally, and also where you learn a little bit more about the Geth, who they are, why they started the way they are, why they revolted, and you get reunited with the one, the very own, I'm sorry about Mass Effect 2, Legion.
Oh yeah.
Also,
Oh, God,
I want to
yeah.
point out, Randy's going to get mad at me. I was right. He can come back. I was fucking right.
But it's not Legion.
He's close enough.
No,
It's not how that works.
Well, like here's the
I
thing,
know.
though.
Like, the story, the whole story is about, no, this isn't, and, like, it can be better with him. But, on a technicality.
Yeah, I do find it fun. It was so funny when Drew you mentioned that, because all I could think of back in Mass Effect 2 is like, there's a way they could bring it back. It's like, you're not wrong, but they also kind of explicitly state it's just like, is this Legion? It's like, no, it's not Legion.
Bro, every
it's
time
just like,
he kept
I'm
saying-
kind of based off of them, but I'm not.
Every time he kept saying, I'm not Legion, I chose the dialogue option of, yes, you fucking are.
It's Legion to me.
It's Legion to me.
It's not Legion. That unit does not have a soul.
Yeah,
The original one did.
So, yeah, that was kind of like, that's the biggest thing that makes my playthrough different than, like, the perfect playthrough of, like, the main stories is because, and again, it's just Samaria's fault because I chose the right option for her, but
You mean Samara?
Samama.
You're like Samaria.
Sorry, I was about to
Samama.
I was about to say
Samami.
I was about to say Samami, and I was like, but that's not her real name, and I couldn't remember how to
Samara.
pronounce her real name. So I got close. Yeah, it's unfortunate that like this is the copy version of Legion, but you still get majority of like the Geth Corian story. So yeah, this civil war happens, and ultimately leading of the choice of, do you want to side with Legion and the Geth and have this Geth army, or kill all of the Corians, including the best girl in the game? It's quite obvious which one I chose, but let's hear your guys' opinions about it. Randy, I haven't gone to you in a while, so what do you want to talk about first? Legion, Tally, or just kind of like the Corian Geth backstory?
So I'll start with Legion first, because so he shows you basically I forget the exact reasoning for the mission, but where you go into basically the Geth consciousness, and it like records about, here's the history of the Geth and Quarian like war, like literally the first like Geth being created, and then the first time that the Quarians are like, oh, this is getting out of hand, and then they start killing the Geth, and then it's also I believe it's also implied that the Quarians, if they'll either arrest and or kill other Quarians that are like Geth sympathizers or like things of that nature. Yeah. So it's kind of like that's pretty fucked up. So like it does a lot of lore dump, honestly, that mission about the Geth and Quarian conflict from the Geth's perspective. And I feel like that was very important because we have only really heard it from
the Quarians.
Tally's or not Tally's necessarily, but like the Quarian perspective for the most part. You get a little bit of it in 2, but from Legion, but for some reason you get Legion so late in the game, like you don't really get that much time to actually sit and talk with him. It's
one of those. The Geth storyline is always interesting because in the first game they are just faceless robots to shoot. Like there is no really Geth side of the story. They are just like the enemy to everyone, because that's how they're kind of depicted. So it is interesting to kind of see. I'm like, no, the enemy from the first game like really don't need to be just killing machines. There can be more. And so that's an interesting like development for that race of people.
Yeah, like, is it a lore dumping mission where you're just kind of running around with a weird little gun and just shooting little data nodes? Like, yeah, but I do agree that I think it's cool where you're finally getting like the Geth perspective after so long, and it even shows that like there were like, as Randy mentioned, there were even Quarians that were trying to assist them that were kind of like, this is unfair the way they're being treated.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, obviously, I can't speak for everyone, but I really do believe, like, if you're kind of on the fence of, like, are the Geth sentient? Are they not? I definitely think this part kind of solidifies, like, yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are sentient.
Yeah.
This unit has a soul.
Exactly.
Well, not after the rocket
Yes,
launcher.
it fucking does.
The rocket.
But,
not
Well,
after it took
this
a
unit
rocket.
had a soul.
I say not after a rocket launch. After he took a rocket launch in the chest. I don't think he. Not anymore. Anyway. Yeah.
This unit had a soul.
This unit
Yeah.
had us.
But yeah, basically,
Oh,
that was on repeat playthroughs. It's not interesting, but I remember the first time I played through it, I was like, oh my gosh, this not like the actual gameplay of the mission wasn't like is not great,
No,
but
but
the
like,
actual
Yeah.
like lore and info, I was like, wow, I'm loving this.
no, but like,
And I
when
dig
do
it
you
for
ever?
that. Like, it's like, yeah, the gameplay, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's not there practically, but the story is cool, and it's a weird way of telling it, but I think it's the closest way that they could get it done of like showing what happened that day, at least from the Geth perspective,
Yeah.
without outright just making it like a cutscene, you know, and having
Yeah.
it believable where Shepard sees it.
Yeah, so you can still
Definitely.
like interact with it, but again, I mean, you don't. Who plays Mass Effect for the gameplay? So it's like I'm okay when there's very lore dumping missions because I'm like, honestly, that's just most of the game half the time.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's an interesting part, and I'm glad this is there. But it does lead to two very interesting characters, and one, in my opinion, and I think it's now time to talk about her. In my opinion, the best girl, which is Tally. I've said and I will say it again. I freaking love Tally. She's great. She's always interesting. I love how much of like. She opens up like so much from like being kind of this like shyer, like quieter type in the first game to like being very open, having very like deep conversations with you of just like, this is like where I'm from and this is what it means for me to like actually take my helmet off because like this suit has almost become like my skin because of how we have to live. I feel like the more I talk about Tally, the more I'm just gonna like repeat what I said in 2. But there's so many moments with her that's like great. Like especially when we get into like some of the DLC stuff, the conversations you have, kind of the side stuff you're able to do, and the big ultimate thing that like, the big payoff for being with Tally is you get a picture of her and see what she looks like underneath the face. And to my surprise, very human-like.
underneath the mask.
Underneath the mask. Sorry.
Yeah,
It's alien enough. Like, she's got a little thing on the chin. I was honestly expecting, like, almost like a fish-looking thing. But, like, I would have been fine
you would not
with
be
it.
the only person.
Yeah. So Seth, thoughts on Tally and like the face reveal?
So talking specific about the face reveal. So, I remember just to show how rough it was in Mass Effect 1. I remember it was something like a little different whenever Mass Effect 3 first came out because it was very controversial when it came out because it's basically just a photo of a woman with just some like the original picture was just like it was basically just some stock photo of a woman with like some purple bits like cybernetic stuff photoshopped onto it, and then people are like, this fucking sucks. Like, people were mad as hell about the picture. I think it looks a little bit better now.
Yeah.
I do think she looks a little bit more aquatic looking, I guess, in the new picture. It's honestly been a while. I really don't pay too much attention to the picture itself, because I never really cared.
Yeah.
Cared. I'm like the Joker. I don't care who's under the mask, really.
No, it.
don't quote me out of context with that. I am not like the Joker.
It's a thing where like, well, it's because of her character and like what she became, of just like, you don't care about like the looks anymore, because you love her as like a character, and so that's kind of why people chose her. So at the end,
and I think you could read it as like a sort of like gesture of trust towards Shepard, of like, this is how much Tally really cares about Shepard, is that she's really willing to like let her real face be shown to him, even though that would have happened in Mass Effect 2, since they already did the hanky panky.
He does already know what she looks like, but me as the player doesn't. So
it's like, I get the payoff now. But I like Tally in the next game. I love when you meet with her. It's like, hey, guess what? She's Admiral now. It's like, that's fucking great. She's like her dad. I think it's cool. It shows the progression on her. I mean, listen, there's not much else to add beyond the fact that she is just as fun and delightful here as she was in the Mass Effect 2. And I think it's more just, it's great the progression of like her relationship with Shepard up until this point. I love that first moment of like the mission where you're finally in, not the side mission, but like, because she mentioned something there too, but the proper mission where it's like the final part of the Geth-Quarian War, and you're on Rannoch, and she has that moment where she's like, this is it, I'm finally home. And she's like visualizing like, this is where our home is going to be. And then, I think it's been a while, but I think I remember something like Shepard is like, our home. And he's just like, yeah, I'm going to build a home here with you. It's like, oh, fuck me. That's really sweet. Like, goddamn. But it's I don't know. Like, Tally is like, that scene is just, she's already great, and it's such a heartfelt moment, especially with a Shepard who romanced Tally. What more can I say? It is a shame that you didn't get to see Legion here, Drew, because her relation, it really does show progress on her and Legion's part here, because she shows a lot more trust in him, to the point where, like, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple of parts where she kind of defends Legion when talking with like the rest of like the Admiralty board.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
About being like, this isn't just like a normal Geth.
Yeah.
I think it's
almost like this unit has something different about them. Probably not.
But it's a really cool moment. It's a shame. I think that's the part that I really like the most. Is just like, because most of the game in Mass Effect 2, you only get to see you only really get to see Tally and Legion sort of like disagreeing with each other. But in Mass Effect 3, if you have both of them alive, you kind of get to see them actually properly work together throughout the arc and actually have some level of trust for each other.
So that does lead me to a little bit of something I wanted to ask about. And I'm pretty sure I asked about this when this happened, but just to talk about it now. So the ultimate thing that is the end of this mission is you have to kind of make a decision of, do you either save the Quarian or save the Geth? And from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you actually do have Legion, real Legion, there is a way to like save both, or okay,
to save the Geth as a species. There's no way to save Legion and Tally in regards to like saving Legion as its own individual.
There's actually no way to save Legion, period.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Because like, even okay, so basically actually, Randy, I've been rambling enough. You want to explain what happens here?
Yeah, basically, so during the actual mission, you're gonna like take out an actual like Reaper on Rannoch, and you go down there, and you fucking Shepard is the most badass person alive, and comes face to face with one and says, "We're gonna take this shit out on foot." You take it out, and then after that, You're there standing above it with Legion and Tally, and Legion's like, "Hey, I can upload the Reaper code to the rest of the Geth and give them true like sentience and like free will and whatnot. But doing so will like pretty much make them a lot more powerful. And so,
And defend
what
them.
would be
Yeah.
the smart decision would be upload the Reaper code to the Geth and have the Quarians stop fucking fighting
Yes.
the Geth.
Stop
Just hey,
shooting.
retreat. Would you please stop for a second?
Yeah.
But
That's
I
not-
forget what admiral it is. Is like, nah, now's the time to attack while they're weak.
Especially with the civilians.
Yeah, with the civilian fleet.
I'm like, what? it's wild to
It's
me
like
that
you asshole.
I mean, I get it that like it's because that character's been set up that way for like 3 games, or at least 2. That like he is very like anti-Geth. I'm going to attack. I do not care the risk. I don't care the casualty. So like it makes sense for his character, but it's so annoying of just like fucking calm down we have a way. Like, there's no way in the game, but, like, there is a way of just you guys stop fucking shooting at each other, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Right.
at that point the Geth are just like defending themselves, and
Dude, at a certain
It's-
point, they're not moving, and they're still shooting at them.
yeah, and it's God, that part. First off, I assume that so just to explain this dude, I don't even remember his name. I just remember he's a little shithead. The introductory mission to the like whole Geth Quarian war is you're on that like Geth ship and you're trying to get something, you're getting off, and you hear over the comms it's just like, let's blow that ship out of the sky, and it's just like, but we should be retreating. It's like, nah, man. This admiral's like, nah, man. Let's fucking blow up the Geth while we have the chance to. Even though Shepard is still on the ship with
And
the
so
rest
is
of his
Tally.
crew.
Tally.
Yeah, including Tally. And so he does that. Man, in Mass Effect 3, I did a lot of Renegade actions, even though I was mostly Paragon, because as soon as I got on the ship and he's like, Shepard, you completely understand why I did this, right? And then you could just press the fucking, like, Renegade action. Shepard just knocks the fuck out of this guy, and he's just like, get the hell off of my ship.
Yeah, he gut
Pretty sure,
punches
yeah,
the shit
even
out of him.
even like me trying to be like good boy, even I was like, no, I pushed that button. I smacked the shit out of that man.
Dude deserved it. He is like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? But yeah, and like but Randy's right. Like, sorry, Randy, you wanted to pick it up where like so Legion would be uploading the Reaper code or fragments of it to give the Geth sentience, right?
Yeah, basically. So those were your options. You could do that, but like the Geth are going to become obviously super powerful, doing so. But they would be like they should choose peace, but is like do that. But then Tally's really concerned. Like, oh God, what if like if we're still fighting, then like
They're
that
gonna-
could doom the entire like fleet.
Yeah.
And so, there's a couple different like setups to get this to work. I think if Legion's dead, you can't get it to
No,
work
it's
at all. You have
impossible,
to.
yeah.
There's no way to have both survive. But like it's a really tough decision for. I felt it was very tough because I had both characters alive, and I was going into it blind, so I was like, I wasn't 100% sure what dialogue options I could choose and whatnot. And I think I didn't have high enough Renegade or Paragon, or maybe I just had enough. It was something like that, but it was extremely tense because I really cared about both these characters especially on my first playthrough, about seeing the plight that these Geth had, of just like part of it was self-defense, and then up to a point it probably wasn't self-defense, but but I mean, yeah, as soon as they kicked him off the world of Rannoch, like the Geth stopped attacking the
They let
Orients,
they let
basically.
them leave the Perseus Veil. Like that was the point. It's just kind of like we could have pursued you in I
And
think the
literally
point
like made you extinct, but like no, you got out of our area.
and
You
kind
can
of like
leave.
what's happening now is almost like a repeat of that situation, except the Geth are going to fully defend themselves this time, and the Quarians, who are already like not that many of them left, are trying to basically finish off the remnant, to finish off the Geth here. They're going to defend themselves, and they're way more well equipped. But yeah, you kind of have to make that choice there. The conditions to meet it to where you can have the option is very interesting, to put it plainly. So basically, in order to make it happen, yes, you have to keep Legion alive, but there's also other parameters you have to fulfill. Obviously, do all the side missions before the Geth Coria mission that is on Rannoch. Complete all those side missions, and
Oh,
then
there's some good ones, but we definitely don't have time.
yeah, but one of the side missions is like you're going there to rescue one of the admirals who's a little bit more like, hey, we can get along with the Geth. He's a little bit more pro that. And you're given a choice between save the civilians or save him, and you need to save him. Here's a weird thing that I mentioned to Drew. For Legions, another thing that counts towards this is Legion's loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2. You have to pick the option to destroy the Geth, not rewrite their code. The heretic Geth, which, if you remember, that's considered the renegade option because you're essentially robbing them of their free will. But that's something you have to do in Mass Effect 2 so that it can also help count towards that in Mass Effect 3 to get that option. So in case you missed out.
That's one of the few times in Mass Effect where it's like, it's one of the few times we're picking the renegade, or maybe not even renegade, but it's like picking one option will lead to the opposite in the future. Like picking the option to like rob the Geth of the free will is technically the one to help save that species and eventually give it free will. And it's a weird thing, and it's just like, how would you have known that? Unless, like, which I guess is the point. You'd only know it if it's your second playthrough, or like you had to experiment. So it's an interesting ordeal.
Yeah, but I completely get it. It's like, Drew, I think you said something like that's kind of bullshit. It's like it is.
Yeah.
There really is any way to put it. I mean, like it is some bullshit.
Yeah. It's like okay. Unless I'm a psychic, there's no way I would have. No, like, sane person would have switched their minds like that.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
So I gotta.
I mean, that's pretty much the end of
that's
that
the
section.
thing. Yeah. What's up?
But did you? I gotta ask. Did you get it the first time? Sorry. When I say when I mean did you get it? Who did you save the first time?
Oh, right.
The Geth or the Quarian?
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, I forgot about. I remember. I know what you're referencing now. Yes. So I forgot when I first played through. I was playing through it and I was like, well, I kind of like the Quarians are assholes. Like, I like Tally, obviously, but like, yeah, this guy's being a dick. I'll try to save the Geth. And I tried to save them, and fucking Tally makes a decision when you save the Geth, and that lasted all of 10 seconds before I reload, and I said, no, I'm not doing this.
So he decided to fucking condemn an entire species.
Okay,
of sentient beings.
Both.
Tally.
All right, missed. Yeah. Okay. To be fair though, the other option is condemn a different sentient species, except this one's organic, and lose both of them.
You don't lose both.
You don't
still
lose
get
both,
Geth.
but
you don't get Legion. But yeah, no, I definitely reloaded because even if I lost both of them, I don't care as long as I still have Tally. I was not. That was the one thing I wasn't playing with.
Yeah, it's just like so. For the people who don't know, although I imagine you are, if you listen this far into the Mass Effect 3 podcast, if you decide to side with the Geth, which is considered the Paragon option, which I agree it is the Paragon option because they're just trying to defend themselves at this point, and the Quarians are being assholes. But because the Quarians are getting the shit kicked out of them, they are being wiped out in the process. Tali decides to unalive herself,
And like, look, I get it. It's a stressful scenario, but holy hell, she came to that decision fast.
The worst part is, oh my god, I think the most fucked up part, and whoever decided to put this in here might deserve a raise with how fucked up it is when they kind of give you that like Paragon interrupt
To try and save her.
Oh,
God.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, dude.
Yeah, it's like, God, that's so
Hard.
fucked up.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, no, this isn't happening. I don't care that it's technically the renegade option. I don't care.
It's just like, I can't live with myself for doing this. Yeah, no, I got you.
I would not. I wouldn't finish the game.
So, Drew, I was in a very similar situation as you, where when I first played this game, I also, obviously, I didn't know what was going to happen, so I went into it. Yeah. I had rescued the civilians, not the admiral, so obviously I was locked out of that choice, and I didn't realize it. So I played that part, and I chose to rescue, sorry, not rescue, I already said that
Save
part.
The Geth.
I chose... Yeah. I chose to save the Geth. That's what it is. Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyways, I chose to save the Geth, and I was thinking like, well, it's the Paragon option. It's like it's awful what's happened to the Quarians, but it is what it is.
I didn't think.
Tali fucking. Yeah, but then Tali fucking killed herself. I was like, oh my god, this is my very first playthrough, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So after that, I was like, oh god, what do I do? So I kind of was like, okay, I need to go back and save the Admiral to get the option. And I was like, how far back is that? And then what I found was the last save I had that went that far back was the Citadel fight, all the way back there. And I literally like sat there for a couple minutes asking myself, am I really going to reset my game, lose like almost 10 hours of progress just so I could rescue Tali and save the Geth and Quarians? And I thought about it, I was like, yes, I am. So I fucking did that. And I tell you what, I fucking speed ran through all that shit.
I did the exact same. I didn't have to go as far back as you. I think I literally just had to like replay the mission, or maybe like a mission before. As you know, I just had to replay that mission because I had made a save before. But I had the exact experience of you of just like, do I really want to reload the game because of this? And I said,
I think he had to restart like all of Priority Rannoch.
No.
Which also,
no,
quick
I didn't
side
have to.
note.
You're
But
thinking
it still says priority in regards to your missions. But
Wait.
continue.
Yeah, wait. Is Rannoch's her planet, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then yes. Yeah. I was getting mixed up with Tachanka. Yeah. Which again, I was like, "There's no way. I'm not losing this. I'm not losing this storyline. I'm not losing this character. I do not care." Like, yeah, it's we had like
I did it though, bro.
I mean, no, I did too. I also made the mistakes. We made the same mistake, but we also made the exact same decision of we're going back.
Yeah,
we're fucking going
also,
back.
this is reminding me of a very funny moment, which I think has been fixed since then. But this reminded me of another friend of mine, Drew, also named Drew. We were both playing Mass Effect 3 around the same time. And he had the craziest glitch. Basically, everything happened like kind of like our game, except he kept going forward with it, where like Tali killed himself, and he was like, and he had romance Tali in Mass Effect 2, so he's like, oh my god, that was awful. So he played through it, but the glitch is he still got the romantic like sex scene with Tali, even though she was dead in his place. Yes, it messed
So
up.
she just shows up.
She just shows up, and then
Steph-
we were just like,
I
I
think-
guess my shepherd has gone completely fucking crazy
I
at
think
this
that's
point.
what that is. I think Shepard just fucking lost his mind and is schizophrenic now. And-
But I was like, what the fuck, man?
But I just imagine like Joker and Edie and like Garrett's like I was like, should we tell him about like Tally's dead? And he's like, no, but it's like, but he thinks he's banging her in his room, but Shepard's just sitting there fully clothed, like humping the side of his bed or whatever.
Oh god.
And it's just
Ugh.
like, oh god. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's funny. Okay. Well,
it's kind of weird. Yeah.
it's a little weird. Well, I'll go ahead and thank you guys because I can guarantee if this is a 2-part, this is probably the halfway point. So good job. We've made it 2 hours. We've done good.
I'd say this is. I think. Yeah. We should split this into 2 parts.
Oh no!
We basically finished Priority Rannog, and now we have what's next on the list? DLC. Right?
Yep. I think
Yep.
it's the perfect moment for some
And
DLC.
all those companions.
Yep.
Yep. All those companions that are in all those DLCs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys in part 2.